simple. All right. Hello everyone, my name is Phol Jiraphasuksakul and I'm with BWSI's Serious Games with AI course. My project was on a revisiting of deep Q learning on simple visual environments. So first, what inspired me to come back and what the original course was about was that we worked on the original course, we worked on this environment, which was a zombie-like game where you could choose to train a reinforcement learning agent on that and it would play the game by itself. I found that to be super interesting, so I wanted to further do my research upon that. With that, I'm basing my research off of this 2013 paper called Playing Atari with Deep Reinforcement Learning. This revolutionized the field as it introduced the DeepQ learning algorithm, which was able to play these 5 Atari games through pixel-fed information by itself. With that, for my take on it, I did it with some more modern environments, that being the Chrome Dino and a game called Dodge. The Chrome Dino is quite simple and probably a little simpler than what they did, but Dodge is much more complex with more actions, possible actions, and more pixels being fed through. With that, I started off by writing my own code for a deep Q learning network. I found this to be really interesting as I read through multiple documents and various tutorials. I did find this to be somewhat successful, but it kept getting stuck. So I looked towards other alternatives. With that, I found the Stable Baselines 3 library in Python, which uses the Gymnasium library, which is a popular reinforcement learning library. Stable Baselines allowed me to find pre-implemented uh, versions of the agent, and I had to modify it to work with my game and simply change some parameters. I found this to be super interesting and helpful as I had to work around with libraries which were hard to navigate as some of the documentation is outdated. But I found it to be really helpful as it's a new skill, as typically you understand most of the code you do, right? Here are the results from my project. At least for the Dino part, I'm still training the Dodge agent, but that is going well. For the Dino reinforcement learning agent, you see that it plateaus somewhat at -90 to -85. This is about 15 to 20 seconds in the game. Before, with my agent, which I wrote by hand, that one would plateau at around -94, 95, and that was about the second jump in the game. At -85, this is where it started getting into where the game started to get somewhat fast with the flying dinosaurs, if you played the game before. What I'm most proud of from this project was writing my own code. Even though it wasn't super successful, it did work to some degree, and I thought it was nice to really understand what was going on, and that was nice. To future students for BWSI who are doing research, I would recommend finding something you're really interested in, like I did. I thought that was super fun, and maybe start working on it early or doing a little bit of research so you have more direction. And don't be afraid to reach out to others. And for my future project, I would like to continue this as it's something that I find super cool. I would like to work on this game called Celeste, and I'd like to train a reinforcement learning agent for it. This game's more complex and quite different from the others, as in these two games, your goal is simply to just survive. In this one, there would be a direct goal of simply reaching the ending, and I would reward it for that. However, with this, I would need to look into more complex algorithms likely, as there's many more actions, and I don't think DQN would be able to handle it. In 5 to 10 years, I hope that I would be done with college, but also that I would be able to work on projects, mainly things that are more physical, but I would like to work on things that somewhat tie in with reinforcement learning, possibly training the code on a simulation and deploying that on a physical model. I think that would be super cool, and I would like to work on that. Thank you.